Diana, can I ask you a little bit more about prayer? Because that's obviously very important to you, and in a sense that's what led you into Roman Catholicism,
Yes,
partly, isn't it?
yes.
What do you think happens in prayer? Or can you describe that?
Well, because there are different kinds. There are the vocal prayers, like the Our Father and all the vocal prayers one says in church and Hail Mary. And I remember, at first, I used to read a lot about prayer and how they divided it up between vocal, meditative prayer, which you use in your brain, and contemplative prayer, which you go beyond. And now I don't think I've got a gift. Some people have a real gift of prayer. Thomas Merton did. So it's quite important for me that I do keep a certain timetable or structure. But I'm not very good at it, but I just keep on. It's, in a way, it's talking to God. I like the Jesus prayer. Do you know the Jesus prayer? It's a little prayer that you say over and over again, isn't it? It's very much used in Russia. Lord Jesus Christ, mercy on me, a sinner. Now, of course, this will bother the young or the modern people who are very anti-fact of being a sinner. But to me, that's okay, because we're all sinners, and God knows it and has forgiven us. But we know that we're not perfect. It seems silly not to. It's just the word sin, perhaps, is what is. It's a dirty word nowadays. I feel it's very important the first thing when I wake in the morning to pray, because then everything seems very sort of open at that moment. And at night, going to bed, really. But, well, prayer is really the most important thing, and it's the easiest thing to get out of and to forget and not have time to keep on putting it off. I just must do this and I just must do that. So one has to be a bit strict, and I don't always stick to it.
Diana, what about confession? Is that important to you?
Yes, yes, yes. I think it's a very good idea, because it's like having a bath or washing. I remember a priest saying, my son, of course, who doesn't like the Catholic Church and doesn't like confession, coming in and finding a priest in the house and saying to him, well, one thing I don't like about your church is I don't like confession. And he said, well, a day never passes that I don't do something I wish I hadn't done and leave undone something that I wish I had done. But the whole point of it is that God loves one so much, and all he wants us to do is to say, I'm sorry. He knows that we are weak and feeble creatures, and we fall by the wayside all the time. And certainly I did. And he just wants us to say, I'm sorry, just like a child who comes up to its parents, and if they, say they're sorry, the parent goes on loving them even more.
Do you suffer from guilt?
Well, no, because I've asked for forgiveness, and I know I'm forgiven. I regret very much when I've hurt people, and I remember it because to try not to do it again, or the other thing, of course, it does is it makes you much more tolerant of other people when you realize that's a very big thing, I think, because one is very critical of other people, but if you realize your own failings, then, well, how can you be critical when you do the same or worse, perhaps, yourself?
You have a tremendous faith in this idea that God is looking after one, don't you?
Yes, God is love. That makes sense, it seems to me.
I mean, you rejected this idea of some little button to press if you fell over or something. Is that not right? Somebody suggested that you wore a little button round your neck that you pressed.
Oh, Jilly, yes, bless her. Sweet, wasn't she? Oh, but that was completely impractical. if you think of the places I go to, I mean, I go around with a button here to press, and I fall down, and I'm up on the mountain or in a wood, and I press the button, and how are they going to find me? Do you see? I mean, it's the kind of life I lead is the thing. So that I have to throw myself into the hands of the Lord to look after me. And he never fails. It's extraordinary how always it's okay, really.
You feel that?
Yes, I've got to keep, yes, I remind myself of that. And I don't worry about me, but I do worry sometimes about the children.
Diana, I wondered about angels. Are they a reality to you? The idea of a guardian angel?
Yes, yes. Well, things keep happening all the time that I could only think of a guardian angel. Ah, that was lucky I didn't do that, or lucky I didn't do that. As if there's some kind of feeling that we have some protection around us. And it's easier to think of it in terms of a guardian angel than to keep going back to God, as if God's going to be bothered, you know, a little thing like me, a guardian angel. Do you know the dream of Gerontes? That meant a lot to me. And there he has this angel, do you remember? And also that very much explains purgatory, because after he's died, after Gerontes has died, and his angel takes him and drops him in the lake, which is the purifying, which is a sort of purgatory. And there he says, I'm unhappy in my pain. You see, some people don't like the idea of purgatory, but it seems to me that we need to be cleansed unless we die, great saints perhaps, but normally we need to be and it's like sort of being cleansed. And as he says, happy in my pain. And I think that we could be happy because we know we're going to God.
Could you have become a nun, do you think?
Well, you know, after I became a Catholic, I tried to. And in fact, I thought I would become a Benedictine. And I went to North Wales, to Talacra, and I took my daughter with me to stay up near Snowdon and see if they would take me. And my daughter had had a very tragic life, having lost her husband and two children. And she was living on her own, but she had had a very sad life. And I took her with me because, first of all, I asked the Mother Prioress if she would accept me. I think I was about 60. And then I said, I've got my daughter here, and perhaps you would like to talk to her, because I felt if they wanted to know me, they must know my daughter too, because it was very much part of my life at that time that I was about. And so I talked to the Mother Prioress, and then I went out into the garden, and the priest was walking about saying his prayers. And I went up to him and said, can I ask you something? I've just become a Catholic, and I now feel I'd like to be a nun. And I'm not sure. And is this likely to be genuine, you see? And he said, have you read Bury Me in My Boots? Well, I had, by Sally Trench. And I said, yes. And he said, I think that's the new apostolate in the world. That there are a lot of people needed to stay in the world and not go into an order to help the world. And of course she was just a young girl, wasn't she, about, 16 or 17, who made friends with the poor drug addicts in the bomb sites in London. He used to go at night and take them coffee and so on. And so I realized what he was saying. And then the Mother Prioress wrote to me and said, for one thing, I don't think we could take a novice at the age of 60, but also I think your daughter needs you in the world. So that was very final.
Prinish Abbey in Gloucestershire, Palm Sunday.
It's a great pleasure when you do meet somebody who's going on the same journey and you can communicate. It doesn't always have to be a Catholic, of course. I do think we need each other. We can't be absolutely on our own. I can remember before I became a Catholic, and I was bothered by a lot of things about the church, which people would say to try and stop me. And I remember there was a priest I knew in the middle of Wales, and he was a splendid chap. And I said to him, what am I to say when people criticize the church, all the things they can say against the church? There's an awful lot to say against the church. And he said, God came on earth and lived for 33 years, and he chose 12 men as his friends. And they weren't particularly holy or intellectual, clever, high up in any way. They were just ordinary working men. And one denied him and one betrayed him. But that's the church. And that's always been sort of help. Catholic Church.
My God, why have you forsaken me? My God, why have you They curl their lips, they toss their heads. He trusted in the Lord, let him save him. Let him release him if this is his friend. Many dogs have surrounded me, a band of the wicked beset me. They tear holes in my hands and my feet. I can count every one of my bones. My God, why have you forsaken me?
I walk for an hour and a half every day. And if I can't get it done in the day, I'll do it in the night. And if I can't get it in the fine, I'll do it in the rain. Because I have noticed when I've stayed in homes for old people, you know, when I was convalescing, that they don't want to go out. And one gets so easily into that state when you're old of not wanting to make the effort. It is an effort, very often, if it's cold.
And praise you where they are asleep.
I'm rather like, Masefield wrote his autobiography, and he called it So Long to Learn. And I feel like that. It's taken me, maybe that's why I have to have a long life, because I'm so slow and I've taken such a long time that God has given me a chance to try and catch up with the things that some people know when they're quite young.